my colleague Dr.T.Rajasekhar, who is convener, other convener to the webinar, and my colleague Dr.T.Rajasekhar, who is convener Krishna Rao Garu, and our dynamic webinar, and chief guest Dean, our principal Dr. Garu, and today's resource person, our dynamic leader Sandeep Garu, today's chief guest, and our participants from the various places, and today's resource person, all parts of India. So, Sandeep Garu, warm welcome to all of you for this participants from the various startup awareness challenges and opportunities from all parts of India program. So, warm welcome sponsor program for this from today's IIC. Startup awareness challenges and opportunities. I request now Dr. Rajasekhar Garu sponsor program from MHRD IIC. So,
good morning to everyone.
I request now
respected
Dr.
our today's chief guest
to give his
is Sandeep Garu, who is the CEO of UPRUN Innovations. So good morning to everyone, and our dynamic respected our today's chief guest Dr.K. is Sandeep Garu, who is the CEO of R&D Dean Innovations. Our doctor, our EV, and our dynamic principal, our deans and HODs, and my colleagues, R&D Dean, our doctor, our EV, Center Department Coordinator, and our deans and HODs who are from different my colleagues parts of India. Warm welcome to everyone. Center Department Coordinators. Today webinar is and our startups awareness and its from different significant parts of India, which is sponsored by warm welcome to everyone. Institutions Innovation Council. Today webinar is startups awareness and its importance, which is a lecture series 2. This is which is sponsored by startups in India. Institutions Innovation Council is not in a expected. Which is a lecturer series 2. This is so whatever we in India we can't achieve it regarding not in a expected in Indian context. So startup means we start whatever we expected we can't achieve it regarding entrepreneurship and innovative idea in Indian context. So in this perspective, so startup means government of India business or we started initiated variety of the innovative idea, and particularly so IIC and IIC-MHRD, Government of India, which is leading by Abhay, initiated variety of Chief Innovation Officer programs, and his team, particularly IIC and IIC-MHRD, to plant and to strengthen such type of ecosystem in Indian context through higher education institutions. So today topic is very interesting, that is, and how it could be, and what type of what is awareness to be given by our chief guest, what type of challenges would have to meet, what type of opportunities would have to meet, has to explain each and every dimension. So once again, warm welcome to everyone. Warm welcome to everyone. So please, sir, Narendra Babu, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Krishna Rao, sir, to address the gathering.
Respected our dynamic principal, sir, Dr.K. Garu, and today's chief guest and resource person Sandeep Garu, and coordinators Rajasekhar Garu and Narendra Babu Garu, and all other participants and my colleagues. Very good morning, one and all. It's my pleasure to talk on this issue on this occasion, the startup awareness and the challenges and opportunities conducted is conducting by our Innovation Incubation Center, which is sponsored by MHRD IIC Center. So it's a very great occasion, and awareing all the people to how do we get the startup business and innovative ideas. One should have very good innovative ideas, and those ideas you have to think innovatively always, then only that you can make any startup. So nowadays the job opportunities in India, the people who are studying in all the institutions are very high, in the range of lakhs of the people, and but the job opportunities are very less, and the faculty or students are human being. Anyone must think over the innovative ideas. How do we start something, the startup, and building a business? And the innovative center, the startup center, will support extend their opportunity to become a good entrepreneur. And today we have very good CEO of one of the UPRUN innovative technologies. How do we get some innovative thinking and startups can be made? And people must take the opportunity to have the startup business entrepreneurship development to offer such a people to make some job opportunities instead of seeking a job by yourself. Thank you one and all for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I request today's chief guest and our principal, Dr. K. Apparao, sir, to address the gathering.
Good morning to everyone. Today's resource person, Sandeep Garu, our Dean R&D, Krishnarao Garu, and coordinators Narendra Babu and Rajasekhar, and coordinators of our incubation center, my dear faculty members and students. A very good morning to everyone. Today I'm very happy because the topic chosen by the our incubation center, startup awareness, challenges and opportunities. Really, it is a very good topic of present pandemic situation what we are facing. This is a apt topic for the present situation to cope up. As R&D Dean or Krishnarao Garu told, like now the job opportunities are very minimal now. So now everybody should sustain on their own by involving in some of the activities like startup culture. So in India, the startup culture must improve, must be strengthened, and sustainability of that startup is very, very important. So how to make your startup for a longer time, sustainability. For that, I think whatever the way, like whatever the idea you are choosing for implementation must be more innovative. Then only it is going to be sustained for a longer time. So for all these things, some sort of awareness is very much essential. Just like that, choosing one topic or choosing one idea and implementing, it won't sustain. So I think today I'm very happy because Sandeep Garu is the CEO of UPRUN Innovations. So he's going to give whatever like real-time experience, like he is a entrepreneur, is a startup owner, so he's the right person to tell the inputs to all the participants. So it is one of the very good topic. So I am requesting all the participants to actively participate in this program and try to take more inputs from the our resource person, and at the same time you can interact with the resource person also through your question and answer session and all. Then even through mail also you can interact. You can send the whatever information you want to see, you are seeking. You can also inform to the our resource person. So really I would like to thank IIC Institutions Innovation Council MHRD for sponsoring this particular program. Really they are doing a wonderful support to they are supporting all the colleges for creating awareness among students and faculty about the startup culture. And it is the, I think, faculty members' responsibility also how to make our students to motivate towards the startup culture, so that our Indian economy will be strengthened. So because of these, now I think the startups are going to play a vital role for strengthening our economy and to see our country a developed country. Still now we are calling our country as a developing country. So startup culture, if it really goes to a really on large scale, then definitely our country will become a developed country. So for this, it is our responsibility, being faculty, being students, it is a responsibility of every member to support this particular startup culture, so that it is going to be useful for the students, faculty, as well as for our country also, for strengthening of our economy. So really I'm welcoming the Sandeep Garu for this particular webinar program. So really I would like to appreciate the efforts of our team members, Rajasekhar, Narendra Babu, and other departmental coordinators like Sivaram Krishna and others are there. So because of your efforts only were could able to organize this particular program. So thank you for inviting me for this particular inaugural session. So please continue. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, I request Dr. Rajasekhar to give the credential of the resource person. Dr. Rajasekhar.
Rajasekhar sir, mute lo unnaru.
Okay. Sri E. Sandeep Garu is basically from Anantapur district. He did his technical graduation in mechanical engineering from JNTU Anantapur in 2009. After that, he did his pre-C marine engineering training course in Applied Research International Private Limited, New Delhi. Then after that, he did his MS in marine engineering in South Tyneside College, Newcastle, UK. He started his professional career in 2013 as an innovator and requirement analyst in M.Tech Automation LLP. Then after that, he joined as a mechanical engineer in Khadija Ship Management Private Limited in 2016. Then in 2017, he created his own professional world. He's a founder, now he's a founder and the CEO of UPRUN Innovations LLP. He's a good expertise in mechanical tool designing. His company manufactures PV solar panel robot cleaners, and he competently lead his business successfully global wide. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With this, I request resource person Sandeep Garu to take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I thank each and every one of you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And I hope all the viewers are keeping your spirits high in these uncertain times. So I'm Sandeep Eranti. I'm the founder of UPRUN Innovations. So I have been asked to share my experience in my startup and also provide an outlook on startups in general. So by the end of this presentation, I will try to give you a rough idea about what a startup is and what are the challenges you could face if you do choose to go in that direction. So a little bit about myself. So my personal interests are mainly about sustainability in almost everything and renewable energy generation. And I would like to approach any problem with engineering and innovation. So I think you should try and succeed to solve the problems of the world. So when you try to solve the problems of the world, then the problems at individual level will be solved automatically. So for example, if you can solve the garbage problem in your city, then you can also solve the problem for yourself, right? So your surroundings will be healthy and you will also be healthier, right? So these are some of the areas that I believe require immediate attention from startups, because the world is increasingly becoming a very, very problematic place to live in, because we are getting climate change and everybody know what is happening right now with the pandemic. So these kind of crises are increasing every year and will be increasing in the future. So these are some of the areas that I believe require immediate attention from startups. So if I may talk about little bit about agriculture and food security, because we're also facing a current pandemic, current outbreak of locust, which is threatening Middle East and also in India, the food security. This locust outbreak is a direct result of climate change and its effects on East Africa and Middle East. So the problems of the world do not have a border. So as our ability, because the problems of the world do not have the borders, even our ability to solve these problems should also have no borders. So we have to solve the problems of the world so that it solves the problems of everyone else. So a startup fundamentally has a very less reaction time. So what differentiates a startup from a big company? Able to react in a very fast time. So which makes very suitable to address immediate problems. On the other hand, being prepared for uncertain times and turn them into opportunities is one such skill helps in the long term, because the big organizations are very settled and they are very relaxed and they are very built into their own comfort zone, and they don't really try to react very fast as much as a startup does. So before getting to an agenda, I would like to share a little bit about my startup so that you can get an idea about what I do actually. So we are based in Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh, and we are affiliated with Atal Incubation Center in Anantapur. So our primary product is PV solar panel cleaning system. So you might have known India is booming in utility scale solar power plants, and they are installed outside in the weather. So they get dirty and they lose efficiency. So they need regular maintenance and they have to be cleaned in regular intervals. So this is where we come in to solve this problem. So in 2017, my friend asked me that can I design a cleaning system for his solar farm. So he was also working designing a software project for a solar company. So they were also facing an issue with cleaning their solar power plant. So my friend asked me if it is possible that I can provide a technical solution for this. So then we started to make a prototype. It took like about a month, and then we tested it in the same plant. So it worked fine. So and the owner of the plant was impressed, and then we got together and thought like, why stop here? So we teamed up with several others, and then that's how our startup was born. So this is, you can see, this is one of our early prototypes that we tested in Kurnool. And since then, we have been continually improving our product. And if you want, you can check more on our website for more details. So, so let's get into today's agenda. So before we talk about anything, you might have back of your head, like you have a little idea about what is a startup. Like it's a buzzword nowadays and everyone wants to do it and then it's innovative. But in my opinion, I'll just share you what exactly the startup. So so for me, a startup is one, you see a problem, right? And then you try to solve it. So that is the initial stage of your startup. You see a problem in the world, or you see a problem somewhere and you try to solve it. So that is the seed for your startup. And then when that is the same problem that a lot of people want to solve, but you're the one who take the step to make an effort and try to solve that issue. And when the people who are like-minded, like, oh, you see the other guys trying to solve the problem, and you also have been thinking to solve that same problem for a very long time, but you haven't taken the initiative to do that. So you can go join with that person, and when that is how the team builds. Like, so if you have a person in your team that doesn't even understand what is the problem is, then is not really the part of the startup team. So it is the startup is one which is made of like-minded people to form a team to solve the particular problem. And when you try to solve this particular problem, that problem becomes an opportunity. For what? The opportunity to start a business. So you can have an idea, you can solve the problem with your idea, but as long as you cannot turn it into an opportunity and then start a business, your problem and idea will become just for that moment, but it cannot extend into a business unless you turn it into an opportunity. So why do you want to solve a problem? Because you are driven by a mission. So you see a problem and you have it in your back of your head that you want to solve this. So that is the mission that drives you personally. And for us at UPRUN Innovations, our mission is to reduce environmental impact through engineering and innovation. Because personally, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I approach to any problem with engineering and innovation. So in the journey of pursuing our mission, we chose solar industry, right? So solar industry is one of these areas that we try to make it better by improving the efficiency of the power generation. because solar power generation is one of the most fastly increasing installations all around the world because of its ease and because of its way of installation, and it is very easy to produce electricity. Of course, it has its drawbacks, but if you look forward into the future, like 100 years, 200 years, so which is the best suitable technology for renewable energy? Solar is one of those energies that a lot of investors look into. So our mission and vision are main focus of any innovative team. So our mission is to improve the efficiency of the solar panels, because for every 7 to 10 days, the efficiency of solar power plants reduces by 20 to 30% because of the dust, especially in India, because the subcontinent of India gets more dust thrown into it compared to the western parts like Europe and America. So in India, we need regular cleaning so that to keep the efficiency of the solar plants as required. So let's get into the agenda. And so what makes a startup? So what are the key ingredients? What are the pillars of that makes a startup, right? So we look around, like the successful and famous startups are an inspiration for all of us. So we see somebody in the news, like they started up like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they are here right now, and we get inspired, right? We wanted to do something like what they are doing, but inspiration can only take you far enough, because if you get inspired and then start doing something, inspiration fades away with time. It can last for a couple of days and couple of weeks, but eventually after 2 months, 3 months, that inspiration doesn't last, because what you need is self-motivation, because self-motivation is very important. Yes, inspiration is also great, but for a startup, you need self-motivation, because your startup lies on your shoulders every single day, and it is a very, very heavy thing to lift. So inspiration cannot take you far enough, and because that is what the only thing will help you keep growing up without giving up. So another key ingredient is your team, because your team is the strongest pillar of your startup. If your team is not good enough, your startup is not good enough. So one of the biggest challenges as a founder is to find the right team members who share your vision. The core team is the heart of a startup, and they're all synchronized by the one thing, that is vision. So if you all have the same vision, then only the team can be very, very strong, and that makes a startup very strong. So you have your team, and now you have a problem, right? So how do you approach a problem? So you have a very big problem in front of you and you want to solve it, and you do not know how to approach it. But let me tell you, it is very simple. It is actually basic math, and I personally call it napkin math, because it is very simple and easy. Now here is an example. In 2017, the installed capacity of the solar power plants in India is 12,000 megawatt. So for 1 megawatt, there are about 3,000 solar panels. So there are about 3.6 crore panels installed in 2012. So they need to be cleaned at least 3 times a week, 3 times a month. So you're looking at a business opportunity of over 10 crore modules to be cleaned every single month, and that has increased 3 times in 2020. You can see there are right now by the end of March 31st, the Sensex is 37,000 megawatt installed in India. So if you can put these numbers on a simple log scale, and you can understand at what stage is your area that you're trying to address, right? Well, I'm trying to address the solar industry, and I do a little bit of math, and now I know that in 3 years it is increasing 3 times. So if you understand this curve, you'll understand, is it the base of the curve, is it still maturing, or it's not still mature, or it is saturated. So you can do a basic analysis at what stage your area that you're trying to address, and when you know at what stage you're trying, at what stage your area is, then you'll understand what are your what is your up against. If the market is very, very saturated, then you have to change then you have to drastically change your approach. But if the market is very not mature, then you have to push it so hard so that it will try to mature. But if you're in the middle, like it is trying to mature and everybody's trying to understand, okay, this is a viable solution, that is where a lot of companies, a lot of startups try to get in at that very instance of before trying to mature. So you have your area, what you're trying to deal with, and now you have to make your own mantra. So it is almost impossible for you to compete with a giant corporation. If you try to compete with a giant corporation like Google, Facebook, and if you try to kill them, or try to say like, oh, we are trying to design something Facebook killer or a Google killer, it is never going to happen. It is almost impossible that you can go and compete with the giants, because they are very good at what they are doing, and they have a lot of resources, and they have a lot of manpower, and no matter how smart and how good you are, they are into the market very deep, and you can never compete with them. So instead of trying to kill them, or don't try to kill them, you have to try to outpace them by creating your own game. For example, Microsoft tried so hard to compete with Google with their own operating system for cell phones, but they couldn't do it. They failed. So they were trying to mimic Google exactly. They're trying to mimic exactly what Google did, and little did they know it was destined to fail. And Samsung also did the same thing with the Tizen OS. So they also tried to release phones with their own operating system, but failed exactly like Microsoft. But then what Samsung did is started installing the Tizen OS on smart TVs, because the Google doesn't have any hold on smart TVs what to install, right? You don't care what your TV comes with, if it is an Android, it is an iOS, or it is a Tizen OS, no one really cares. But your phone, you do care if it is an Apple phone or an Android phone. So the market, the Google has penetrated into the market so far, even the giant companies cannot compete with Google. So that is where the Samsung changed their game and started installing their Tizen OS into the TVs, because the Samsung is very big into selling TVs. So now they are undercutting Google when it comes to smart TVs. So very many companies are not really installing Android OS on TVs. They are installing their own operating system on TVs. So now Google is getting the attention that in the future there will be many smart devices apart from cell phone that the Android will not be using. So now Google is feeling the tension that the new startups are coming in and changing the game. So that is how you undercut big companies. That is how you make your own game. So try not to compete with the giants. The only thing that you want to compete with is yourself. If you're competing with yourself, then you have to run the fastest, because you always compete with your own product. You always try to compete with your own the speed of innovation that you have. So you don't have to compete with someone else. So best competition is with yourself. So sorry. Yeah. So every startup has a mantra. So you have a startup now, and you wake up every day and you go to your office, and then what? You have to be united with a single mantra. So as the mantra that drives you every day. So try to find your own mantra. So for example, at UPRUN Innovations, our mantra is engineering is true magic. We believe that engineering can make true magical products that you can put into the world. So our mantra is intention, intelligence, and innovation. So intention is what paves the way for us. That our intention is to make the products that to accelerate sustainable energy and accelerate renewable energy. So we try to put our intentions before doing anything else. So that is the mantra that you have to find yourself, because every startup is different in its own way. It has unique challenges. It has its own problems to solve. So you have to make a mantra so that you can stick to it and then execute your mantra. Sorry. So the product or the service, your product you make a product or you make a service, and it must be substantially better than your competitor. So if your product, let's say you make something and then it is a little bit better than what actually exists in the market. So why would a buyer, as a buyer, if your product is only a little bit better, it doesn't even matter, because your competitor is already in the market and they already have a lot of user base. So if you want to compete, if you want your product to be stand out, you have to make it substantially better than your competitor. And if you do not have any competitor, just like you should know what your competition is not offering. So you have to know what your competition is not offering, and then your offering must be in that particular segment that your competition is not offering. You have to make your changes substantially better, not minor changes. So you have to under promise, not only making substantial improvements. Your product should be under promise and over deliver. So what happens in the real world is companies over promise. They promise a lot, like our product is that and this, and when you really get the product, it's not as much as exciting that they advertise you. So it is always better to under promise and over deliver than over promise and then under deliver, because you'll have a lot of disappointed customers and disappointed buyers. And trust me, when the buyer is disappointed, you're losing more customers. If your buyer is happy, that buyer will create you more buyers. If I'm happy with my phone, I'll show it to my friends, I'll show it to everyone else. Oh, this is a very good phone, why don't you buy it? So that is the best marketing opportunity that you have as a startup, because you do not have the resources for the marketing, and you may not be able to send resources for marketing, and the money that takes for marketing is very huge. So only big companies can afford it. So if you want to get into the game, your product should speak for itself. So failures, right? Failures are like the people say that failures are the stepping stones of whatever you're trying to do. So I'd like to give an example, like for prototyping. So for us, prototyping is one such thing that we learn a lot about failure, because I wish my prototype fails, because I wish my prototype fails in every single way, in many ways, so that the final product is free from major defects. Because if your product, once it is in the market and if it fails, that's a very big blowback for your company or a startup. So very recently, for an example, Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen started production of their ID.3 electric vehicles, but they're still not selling it, but they're still manufacturing it and they're parking it somewhere. And the problem is the software, because Volkswagen has made cars for a very long time, but they haven't made any software, right? They're not a software company. So their electric vehicle has a very big problem with the software, so they cannot sell it. So failures will definitely happen when you're trying to do something new. But what matters is how fast you learn and recover from it. If Volkswagen doesn't learn and try to recover from the software issues they have, they'll have a very big problem on their hand and they'll be losing a lot of money. So you have to fail, but always remember that you have to learn fast and get back on your feet. So rapid prototyping is the key to get your product out as soon as possible. Because if you take 1 year to make a prototype, you lost 1 year. That is why it is called rapid prototyping. The rapid prototyping, it should be like in days, weeks, and maximum months. And if you do not have a final product within months, you're wasting a lot of time, energy trying to build your product. So rapid prototyping, it could be a hardware product or a software product. You have to test it. You have to test it to an extent that it fails in every single way, and then you have to keep iterating it, then make it much better, and you have to keep testing it until the time it doesn't fail. So rapid prototyping is one such thing which gives you huge advantage in time and huge advantage in learning the failures and huge advantage in putting your product out into the market. So remember, if you're trying to do anything, your prototype should be very fast, and you should learn what is wrong with your product. Otherwise, you will waste a lot of time. So obviously, if you're new to something, there are some myths that you may believe in that could hamper you in many ways, right? You get into something believing that something is true, and then you try to do it, and then you fail, and then you try to do it, and then it fails, and then you get into this loop that keep doing it until it gets succeeded, because you try to believe in a myth and you try to do the same thing again and again, and you fail it again and again, and you get into this loop and wasting a lot of resources. So what are some of these myths that I have come across personally in my professional career that I'll try to share with you. So I have been told for many times, like for last 5-10 years, when I talk about startups, I have been told again and again and again, technology is very easy, but selling is the hardest part. Then it got me thinking, as a buyer, don't think like a startup, just think like a simple buyer. Why is it so hard to sell? I go around, because as a buyer, I go around searching for a very good product, right? When you're a buyer, you go around, you put your energy, and you try to find the best value for your money. And no matter what much of marketing the people does or a companies does, a buyer always have a shield and a filter to filter out what is exactly they need. So if someone tells you that selling is the hardest part, I don't believe that is true, because your product is not good enough. You're trying so hard to sell it. If you put so much effort in making a very good product, it sells for itself. So what I've learned is quite opposite of what I've been told. So when you work hard and make a superior product, it sells for itself. So this is one of the popular myths. Selling is not the hardest part. If you didn't work good enough on your product, yes, definitely, if you're trying to sell not a very good product, then yes, selling is very hard. And of course, even if you have a very good product, selling might be a little hard, but it is not the hardest part. So, and the second myth that everyone thinks about, when you're trying to start up, you see in the news that this company has grown from this for last 5 years. They have started with this much of investment, and now they are valued, so on so. So this money speaks. So a startup is expected to grow like 10-20 times in 5 to 6 years, which is nothing but profits, right? Yes, profit is above all. Profit, yes, money is the fuel, but there is one thing that you should even it should be even above the profits, which is intention. Because the very frequent news, a startup is acquired by a giant corporation, right? You see a startup for like they started like 5 years ago, and then they sold out to Google or Facebook or someone else. So why do they do that? Because they do not have the same intention that they had in the beginning when they had a startup. Well, there may be certainly some companies whose intention is to sell their company to a corporation. So that's a different argument altogether. But if your intention is to solve an issue, and after 5 years you go down this road, and then, oh man, I've worked for so much, then I need a break, right? You need a break, and you sell your startup to a corporation, then you move on. So you lost your intention. So for now, right now, your priority is profits instead of intention, that what you're trying to solve in the world. So that is how you lose the values of a startup. I wouldn't say exactly you lose all the values, because the startup is made of the people who founded it. And if you can see the history of startup acquisition, once a startup is acquired by a big corporation, all this core team, they'll go away, because once they build that structure and then go away, and then they start another startup. So this is how sometimes works out for founders and they don't agree on with each other and they go apart and then they start their own startups. But if you really want to take a bite out of what your intention is, your team should stay together and not to sell your startup to a big corporation, because you want to move on with a lot of money and you want to set up a new startup to make more money out of it. And so in the end, being a startup has both pros and cons. It is very important to work constantly towards your cons and take advantage of the pros and the speed of prototyping to production, because if you have disadvantages and you have to keep working on your disadvantages, and if you do not keep working on your disadvantages, they keep popping up on every step, on every day basis. All your disadvantages as a startup keep popping up, hurting you on the flip. So you have to keep working towards minimizing those disadvantages, but you have a lot of advantages as a startup, and one of the main disadvantages is the time, as I explained earlier, the time to take from prototype to production. So if you can minimize this prototype to production process, you have a very better idea of where you stand. And that is where the incubations come in. So incubation is a place where you can speed up this process. You start with an idea, you make a prototype, and then you get into a place where it is ready for production. The incubation is supposed to help you, or like let's say it incubate, right? The word itself says incubate. So they have to incubate you so that your prototype gets to production as fast as possible. So opportunities, right? What are the opportunities? So the main difference between a big company and a small startup is the capacity to take risks and the ability to turn directions very fast. You can imagine a very small boat, and you can imagine a very big ship. So a small boat is like a startup, and a big ship is like a big company with thousands and hundreds of employees. So for a company very big, it is very hard to take a turn, because they are so big that even if they take a decision, okay, let's do something, for them to take a turn, a U-turn, is very long. But as a startup, you have that chance and you have that ability that gives you a power to take a decision and risk in a very fast pace, which big companies doesn't have this advantage. And this ability gives you many more opportunities, and you will be able to recognize and consider them much faster than a big company. Let's say there is an opportunity, and opportunities are everywhere, problems are opportunities, and there is a problem and a big company doesn't want to solve it. Even if they want to solve it, it is not very easy for them. But a startup is very small and very concentrated on what the resources are. So it is very easy, and the capability of a startup to find opportunities and turn problems into opportunities is much higher when compared to a big company. So as I said, the world is filled with problems, and all the problems are your opportunities, only if you wish that it meets your vision and you want to take it up. So another thing is you have a chance to experiment, to fail, and learn very fast. A big company is always afraid to fail, because if they fail, he fails them in every single way. So as a startup, the main advantage, another main advantage that you have is you have a chance that you can experiment and fail. So try to fail, try to experiment, try to understand, and then it comes to you. The opportunities, you can see what is opportunity and what is not so good. So the challenges, right? I don't have money. Oh, I don't have any experience. What do I do with it? Oh, it's very. Look, can you imagine making 10,000 cars a year? It's very hard to take. Scaling up is very hard. And in Indian culture, failure is not an option, right? Failure. If you fail in something, you're considered like a failure. So failure is something that embedded into our Indian culture, which is not encouraged. So that is the reason why the Far East, like India, China, and the most of the Eastern countries doesn't have a lot of culture of failures. And if you look into Europe and Asia, sorry, Europe and Americas, they have a culture of failing and then accepting it. It's not like totally accepting it, but they have much more tolerance for a failure than Eastern cultures. So I'm not really sure how you have to come over for the fear of failure. It's up to you, because it's embedded into the culture, so you have to deal with it yourself. When it comes to money, right, funding, if you have money to pay for the college, right, you paid for the college and you studied, you paid for the college, then you certainly have money to kickstart your idea. And remember one thing, no one will invest in an idea. You have an idea, fine, it's good, ideas are great, but no one will invest a single rupee in your idea. Why? Because ideas are great only when you can prove that you can do it. You have an idea, you have to prove, at least to yourself. If you don't want to prove it to someone else, you at least have to prove it to yourself that yes, I have an idea and I work towards it, and you can prove that yourself that yes, this is a problem that I can solve. And certainly one thing that the very big challenge for a startup is a lack of experience, right? And nothing can substitute it, right? Experience is something that comes with time. But again, as I said, failing is the only way to gain experience, right? You have to fail fast. If you have the fear of failure, you cannot gain that experience that you require, and this is a very big challenge that many of us we really don't know, because once we get into it, then only we'll have an experience, and it takes quite some time to get that experience and to make a right decision on something. And as I said earlier, scaling up is also probably the hardest challenge for all. The bigger it gets, the harder it becomes to steer it. Like the bigger and bigger the ship gets, the harder it is to steer it. So, for example, I already explained about the Volkswagen electric car. So, even for a company like Volkswagen, scaling up an electric car is a very, very big task. So just imagine how hard it will be for a startup to scale up, because they have a lot of resources, they have a lot of manpower, they have a lot of money, but still they fail to make one electric car from prototype to production. You can see, because you can go to an auto expo and see crazy cars, right? You can if you ever visited an auto expo or an exhibition, they have crazy exhibits there, but because they are prototypes, and prototype is very easy, but making that prototype to production, you see a lot of fancy things in the news and in the newspapers, but they never come to life. It is not because they cannot be done, but scaling up is very, very, very hard. That is why a prototype car looks very futuristic, and when it gets into your hand, it looks like any other car. So scaling up is very hard, and if you fail to do scaling up, your startup is nothing but it just started and it will never prosper. Because just remember, if it is a hardware product or a software product, you have to concentrate on scaling up. So self-motivation and staying afloat in the ocean of failures and turning problems into opportunities is the best chance that you have to be a startup. So these are all the challenges that test you, how willing you're trying to solve the problem, and you have to learn and you have to get motivated. Self-motivation is one thing that you should never lose. If you lose self-motivation, startup culture is very, very, very brutal. If you lose your self-motivation, if you get demotivated, and if you get relaxed, you cannot push that startup into where you want to be, where you want to see it to go. So finally, Winston Churchill maybe might have caused a lot of pain in British ruled India, but certainly he helped prosper England and British, right? So in his own words, success is not a destination and failure is not something you need to be afraid of, right? And what matters is the courage to continue. So just remember, you have to accept that failure is not something that should be afraid of. Failure is something that you should be turning it into an experience and turn your problems into opportunities and have the courage to keep going on. So yes, then I present. Thank you everybody for your time. Thank you for everybody for who arranged this webinar. So if you have any questions now, you may ask. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions with me.
Sure.
So the first question is, what is the difference between budding entrepreneurship and startup?
Sorry, sir.
What is the difference between budding entrepreneurship and startup?
Well, so difference between them is buying and selling. So if you're just buying and selling, that doesn't become a startup, right? It becomes like a business. So you're not taking any risks of innovation. You're getting a product from somewhere and you're selling it to somebody. That's it. But a startup is something that trying to create something new and trying to create something new with innovation or whatever you call it. You're creating something that didn't existed before. So that makes a startup. If you're trying to just buy and sell, it doesn't make a startup. Yes, sir.
Okay, some other question. How is the status of startup in Indian context?
Look, being honest, the government is trying to put out a lot of help, right? As personally, I was associated with Atal Incubation Center in Anantapur, and trust me, they are trying to do a lot. Like if you go there and you show intention, they will help you in every way possible. And what's sad to see is, as I said, there is a cultural gap or the cultural hurdle. Like you go to a college and there is always in the back of your mind, even from the first year of college or even from the schooling itself, what job you have to get, right? What type of job you're trying to get after your bachelor's or master's. The pressure is on, the cultural pressure is on. Oh, go out, get a job, because after your studies you cannot stay, right? 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. How long will you stay outside? How long you'll stay without money? How long you'll spend your own money that you have saved? And who will support you? Your parents will support you or your friends will support you? There is no culture here. There is no startup culture that exists in India, and I'm not blaming it, but it is into the culture, right? Is it good or bad? It is up to the person who is trying to start a startup to decide it. I'm no one to decide if it is a good thing or a bad thing. But even though the Indian government is giving incentives, they even give you free electricity, free internet. They even give you a lot of support financially. The incubation itself gives you a lot of a platform to convert your prototype into to minimize the time from prototype to production. But still, I don't see a lot of startups that are coming up into the incubations and with real innovation. And partly it is because of also of the quality of education that we get in our Indian culture, because we are again into a culture where the education system is treated in such a way, the numbers on your mark sheet matters more. Even let's say, okay, I'll give another example. You go to a job, okay, even let's say if you don't want to start a startup, you go to a job. Why don't they give you a job based on your certificate itself, right? It is just a filtration, because there are a lot a lot of students that are coming out, for them, they don't know what to do. They put a benchmark, they put a filter as your mark sheet is a filter. But even if you have the right capacity to work the job, you cannot go through that filter because there are a lot of students that are coming out to get a job. So personally, I'm very glad that my parents supported me, and there is an incubation center in Anantapur that supported me. So you try to find out what are the options that you have, but in Indian culture it is very hard to because, as you know, getting a government job is considered as a benchmark for getting a job. So when there is a lot of competition, especially if the only thing that you want is job security, I would say to go through that much of pain. And if you can go through the pain to find a government job, trust me, you can go through the pain to get through the startup, because you can do wonders. If you really are interested in, you can do wonders. And try to, if your parents supported you through a lot of things, your childhood, your college, your exams, and they paid a lot of money. And if you can talk to them, if you really believe that you can do it, but before doing anything, you talk to your incubation centers, you talk to your experts. Is that a really viable idea? And don't try to waste your time if you're not capable of doing it, and try to realize, are you really able to do it? If you're not able to do it, please do not waste your time. Especially, it is better not to have a startup. You can fail, but at least you have to learn from the failure. So yeah, as a startup culture in India, it is not very good as an external factor. But as I said, internal factors depends on place to place and culture to culture. So that is how it is. Thank you.
The next question. What are the financial agencies in Andhra Pradesh and the Government of India agencies particularly?
I'm sorry, sir. Financial agencies. Sir?
What are the financial agencies
Okay.
that are in Andhra and Government of India perspective?
What do you mean financial agencies? I do not understand.
That means the supporting for startup or something entrepreneurship wise.
You mean financial support for a startup? Okay, as I said.
Yes.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, you have to understand that no one will invest in you unless you are invested in yourself. Let's say there is of course, there are a lot of financial agencies. You can go, there is the industrial corridor. You can go to the industrial corridor. There is a separate sector for even soft IT. So if you're a hardware product, there is an industrial corridor that you can go and get help with. DIC it is called. So district industrial corridor, I guess. So that is one thing that will understand what you're trying to do. And then as a startup, it is a culture. A startup culture is not really self-funded. Yeah, I haven't talked much about funding, right? So let me explain a little bit about funding. So a startup culture is something that you make something, you invest your money, you invest your time, and you have an idea and you make a product. Then you decide, okay, the financial thing is always very tricky. Do you really need finance support? Sometimes you don't really need finance support, you are self-sufficient. So you should understand, do you really need financial support or not? Because even I have been asked many times, do I need a financial support, or do I need to do a seed funding? Do I need to go for venture capitalist? Because we never did it. We are self-sufficient, and we were able to invest our own money, and we were able to rotate it, and then we were able to invest, we were able to put our own money into that, and we never wanted to go to the angel investors. Because just remember, when you go to an investor, you're giving the key to them to what happens in your company or what happens in your startup. So do you really want an investor? So if you really want an investor so bad that you're ready to give the keys of your startup to them, then you're willing to go. But again, the financial institutes that you want to support as a startup. If government is supporting in many ways, you can get a lot of details from the incubation, or you can read it online. And one of them is, as I said, industrial corridor, and you can get all the information from incubation cell as well. So yeah, so you have to decide, do you really need investment or not, right? So you should, so even if you, let's say, even if you get investment from the investors, they expect like 10-20 times multiplications of the valuation, at least in next 5 to 6 years. So yeah, I cannot give you an exhaustive list of what are the financial institutes, but just remember, if you do want a financial support, it only comes when you show an investor that you have invested quite a bit of amount of yourself. You have to invest a lot of personal money into it, and then you have to invest a lot of time into it, and then you have to show that this is a product that they want to invest, right? There is a lot of options for investment. If your startup is not good enough, like if someone thinks like, oh, I can just put it into a bank savings account instead of putting into this startup, you can understand you will never get an investment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question. What is the situation of startups during this, COVID, and coming to the post-COVID situation also?
Okay, so for past 2 decades or 3 decades, the world has shifted from very slow consumption to very fast consumption, and this has resulted in the birth of startup culture in many countries. But COVID-19 is one such thing which has disrupted not only startups but everything in the world. So as I said, this is a problem, right? So COVID-19 is a problem. Not only a problem, this is a problem that comes with different problems. Even if you want to solve COVID-19, you cannot go out, you cannot travel, you cannot meet people. So this is not just one problem that you're trying to solve. This problem comes with a very personal challenges at a society level, at a civilization level, which no startup, no organization, no company has dealt with before. So this is not a specific startup oriented problem. This is a problem that is hampering on every industry and every sector in the world. So this is a problem. So before you try to solve COVID-19, you have to solve personal problems, you have to solve social problems, you have to solve civilization problems. So yes, this is a problem. This is a place where we have a lot of problems. But again, the technology is there. You can talk to people, you can Skype, you can do webinar. So the technology is there at the same time, luckily. So you can approach this problem and you can convert into opportunities. So COVID-19, do not take it as a money-making machine. Trust me, this is a time where you should not think about just making money. The world needs startups that can actually solve medical issue of the company. You have to have a team that has expertise in logistics, has expertise in marketing. So this is a very diverse mixture of team that to try to solve the COVID issue. So if you are a startup, there is always a chance that you can get into this one of the trying to solve the issues. But if you're trying to solve the core issue of the COVID-19, you need to have a lot of expertise. So yes, there are a lot of opportunities for the startups in COVID-19 era. So you can go and explore it. Thank you.
One more question, sir. What is the role of higher education institutions towards this startup? How they can, recognize, the students are motivated towards the startup, to choose a career as towards the entrepreneur?
Yes, that's a very good question actually. So higher education is where you go on, right? And especially education in the higher institutes is solely focused on to get a job. And we are treating education separately and we are treating incubation separately. Why don't we plug them together? As long as we treat a startup no of startup ecosystem if they do not act upon the demand and supply. There is a lot of demand for innovative startups right now, and the supply is almost zero. So higher education plays a very, very vital role, and I expect them to not to separate education from startups, startup culture, because you have to include the startup environment and the culture into the education itself, so that whoever who are studying the higher education can choose if they want to work for a company, they just want a job, or they can do something of college or long. Look into if you see some European institutes, the same institute has medicine, engineering, arts, science, you name it, they have it. The single institute, the single university, this University of London has like biodiversity, like diverse, a lot of diverse in education, because if you are a medical student and if you are in a medical college, if you want to learn about engineering, okay, because doctors are just because doctors are treating people, that doesn't mean that they don't have to learn engineering. Like they use a lot of tools, they use a lot of machinery that go, there's a lot of engineering that goes into the machinery that they use. But if they don't understand it, because the medical institutes only teach you medicine, but if you have an institute that has engineering, medicine, and arts and everything, you can sign up for everything. You do medicine in the morning, and then in the afternoon you go and sit in the physics class. Tomorrow you go and sit in the arts class, and the next day you can go and sit in the human resources class. So this is the time you can not only include startups into the higher education, the entire system of education system itself has to be diversified, not just concentrated on engineering colleges, medical colleges, arts colleges. If you keep separating them, once they go out into the real world, the real world is a diverse place to deal with. So yeah, that's a very good question. I think that higher education, and even in the bachelor's degree, sometimes even maybe in the 10+2 might be a little harder for include startup culture, but certainly higher education should involve diversity and startup culture into the education system. So thank you.
Very much, thank you, sir. One more question is, in an education institutions, both entrepreneurial cell is there and the placement cell is there. And in student perspective, how the student has to determine which way, I mean, is the best for their career. So how do, I mean, this is simply some different question.
Yeah, it is like a follow-up question to the previous question that I've explained. When a student finishes their education, and there is an incubation cell and there is a placement cell. So yes, again, you're dividing placement cell with the incubation cell. So I don't know, because that is the problem that exists right now, and it's not a decision per se. It doesn't mean that you can go work, you can do a job and then you can come back, because I myself worked as a marine engineer. I roamed around the world. I worked on the high seas and the bad places, like so, and then I came out and I found an opportunity, and then I started a company, right? So it doesn't have to be out of the college. It doesn't have to be there is no specific way that you have to start your startup. And one of my friends is used to tell me that if you want to start a company, why don't you just go and work in a company? Like, let's say I want to start a electric car company. So he says, okay, go and work for Hero Honda. Why don't you go work for Suzuki? So you can go work for them and understand what are the hurdles and what are the problems, and you can understand what is going on in the world, in the sector. So the experience that you get from failures is very, very rich, but the experience that you get from a job is not as rich as a startup. But again, you'll get an entire view, like from the top, the ostensible view of a company. So you can go and work for a company, then you can come back to the startup. So yeah, thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir. That's all. Some questions from the participants. And now I request Dr. Rajasekhar to give the concluding remarks.
Sir, especially we are very thankful to our resource person. Even though he is having a hectic schedule, he accepted our invitation. In the meantime, we are very thankful to Atal Incubation Center, Anantapur, because that AIC only recommended to our Sandeep sir. So we are your whatever you are delivered is also something there are institutional center to strengthen such ecosystem in our college campus. And also you shared very learning experiences. That's really good. That is. So experience is a learning experience is a good lesson to us. Then only we can come to know how do we succeed in a such a way whatever we expected that. In the meantime, you told that whatever we planned would have to design everything, but sales, increasing the sales volume or strengthening the sales volume is very hard. Yes, really it is a practical difficult it is. So we have already in the market same or similar products, competitors we have. So how can we make our sales effectively is a somewhat difficult. So really it's a good experience. We came to know that sales volume, increasing the sales volume is also very hard. And also how you according to our experiences, we came to know that how do we climb the ladder of success in the business. But even that is a tough job, then we would have to succeed. So however, overall go through your lecture is much more informative to our students, sir. We are very thankful to you, sir, in such a way. So in the future also we have to expect your such cooperation, coordination to your institution. In the meantime, we are very thankful to our particularly IIC, Institutions Innovation Council, MHRD, because it's a sponsored program, sponsored by IIC-MHRD. That's why we are very thankful to particularly Abhay and his team for struggling a lot to strengthen such ecosystem in Indian context to higher education institutions. And we are very thankful to our management, college management and principal for encouraging such type of activities relating to entrepreneurship and startups. And we are very thankful to our participants who are from different parts of India. I think that they got more information relating to startups and relating to startups in Indian context. So once again, I am telling we are very thankful to each and everyone. We are very thankful to particularly resource person and other faculty members and technical for giving, and also we are very thankful to Dr. Veeraya and and others for providing technical support in this relating to this program. So we are very thankful to our department coordinators, to each and everyone, and we are very thankful to our participants. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Krishna Rao, sir, please give me your remarks, sir. Sir, mute off, sir. Mute. You're in mute.
So it's a very nice lecture given by the Mr. Sandeep, and the people how do they cope up for getting the startup, and what are the challenges that they may face, and the opportunities that they can bag in their domain, in their life, and to come up in their individual lifestyle, and not depending upon the education where they stick on to the domain, they can foresee for the exploring for the wide range of this kind of startup and business entrepreneurship by providing and by getting some innovative idea. Only when that whenever they find some problem in and around them and solving those problems, and they can get it some growth. The only thing is that foreseeing for the solutions always. The solution is very much important, and that is how that is required in the startup and the business. And it is a very thankful that Sandeep has given a wide that awareness about this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Finally, I thank Sandeep Garu for giving a very, very fantastic presentation, and which reflects the today's whatever struggles towards establishing the startup or entrepreneurship. So I thank MHRD IIC for extending the help for connecting this webinar, and I thank our LBRC management and our for continued support to do all these type of webinars from starting day of this incubation center. And I also thank incubation coordinators. They have really worked hard, and without this their help, it's not possible to conduct this type of webinars. I thank our one other convener, Dr. Rajasekhar. He is always with me to conduct this type of always. So thanks to Dr. Rajasekhar, and particularly technical support by Sivaram Krishna, and CSE is always there for us with every step to conduct this type of webinars. So thank you, and Sandeep sir. We expect in future also a very good rapport with you for extending help for much more like startups too in our incubation center.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, with all this, I'm ending this session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the feedback will be shared within half an hour in both the chat of Microsoft Teams as well as in the WhatsApp groups also.
Sure.
Once you fill up this feedback, you will get certificates.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.